Hello and welcome. Today's Knowledge Nugget is about the first woman to run for President of the United States. Now, with Hillary Clinton running for president, everyone has gone crazy over the fact that a woman is running for president. But she was not the first to do so. Did you know? The first woman to run for president of the United States was a fascinating person named Victoria Woodhull. And she ran in 1872 against President Ulysses S. Grant. He, of course, was the war hero general of the Civil War. Women couldn't even vote in 1872, which is remarkable about Victoria Woodhull. She was also the first woman stockbroker on Wall Street, and she was the first woman to run her own newspaper in the world. Her sister, Tennessee Woodhull, was rumored to be the lover of Cornelius Vanderbilt. He set them up with the money for them to be the first female stockbrokers on Wall Street. And they did very well for themselves, and they started their own newspaper from the money that they had made from the stockbroking house. So Victoria Woodhull had been married to a guy who was a drunk and a womanizer, and their first child had been born with mental retardation, and she blamed that on his womanizing and his alcoholism. So this set her on a path of woman's independence. She thought women should have the right to vote. She was an enemy of Susan B. Anthony at a conference on women's suffrage, the right to vote. Susan B. Anthony actually turned the lights off on Victoria Woodhull because she hated her and her speech was running a little too long. So she decides to run for president. She ran for president for the Equal Rights Party that thought women should have equal rights to men. And her platform was one of free love. She thought that a woman should be able to choose her lovers at random, at their own discretion, and love them for as long or as short as they wanted. Basically, for women to have control over their bodies. Because in 1872, a woman's choice was either to be a housewife or a prostitute. Very limited job prospects. So she ran on the free love platform, and she was vilified as being kind of a hooah. The church people and the media at the time thought that she was a loose woman and that she was a whore. And in 1872, she chose Frederick Douglass to be her running mate. Frederick Douglass was the freed slave, intellectual, abolitionist, and pretty remarkable that a woman running for president would also choose a black man. So totally scandalous. Frederick Douglass never agreed to it. He, in fact, actually campaigned for Ulysses S. Grant. So at the time, the press had vilified her for being a hooah, and they thought her campaign was a joke. And at the time, there was a famous preacher in New York named Howard Ward Beecher, and he was having an affair with one of his parishioners, one of his flock of sheep in his congregation, a woman named Elizabeth Tilton. So Victoria Woodhull wrote all about it in her newspapers, that there was a double standard against women, and that this famous preacher could have this affair, and it was no big deal. Because of this, the federal marshals, the United States government, arrested Victoria Woodhull days before the 1872 election and charged her and arrested her for publishing a obscene newspaper, basically for pornography, because she had written all about Howard Ward Beecher having this affair. So she was actually in jail for a week when the election took place in 1872, never even got to vote for herself. She was a write-in candidate, and then that kind of disgraced her. She also tried to get nominated for president in 1884 and in 1892, but was unsuccessful. She was depressed and distraught and kind of aimless in her life and wanted to start a new life in England. So her sister got money from the Vanderbilt family. At this time, Cornelius had died, but he had left instructions to his son to take care of the Woodhall sisters had they ever had a problem, which they did. They got the loan from them and went on, and she died in relative obscurity in England. But she was a fascinating woman and a powerful woman, and she was, in fact, the first woman ever to run for president of the United States. And that is today's Knowledge Nugget. Shalom, amigos y amigas. Did you see that Republican National Convention start? It had everything but a military flyover and a hologram of James Cagney singing and tap dancing Yankee Doodle Dandy. Can't wait to see what that Democratic National Convention looks like. They're going to bring in Wonder Woman and Catwoman and all the female superheroes. And American politics continues to entertain.
I turned the light off you.
That's okay.
Like the woman on the story.
Oh, great.